Hello my friends, welcome to Walking with J.Beau. Very extremely windy day. You're familiar with my walks, which this is Walking with J.Beau, an almost daily walking vlog, as evidenced by my non-walking last today. .40-mile-an-hour winds today because of a storm. Using an osprey, navigating the wind. Very impressive. Hope I don't get hit by a felled tree. That's how Governor Abbott of Texas ended up in a wheelchair. He was out jogging and a tree fell and landed on him. Oh boy. Well, it feels like I'm going to be walking twice as hard today. If the wind's blowing at me. This is what you get when you walk every day. You deal with whatever weather you have. And I'm sure all you're going to hear is a liquid watery sound, or I'm going to sound like a robot, and that would be the wind blowing into the microphone and the sound canceling, wind cancellation trying to cancel it. Wow. Now normally when it's windy like this I don't walk. So why am I walking today? Well, it is 48 degrees. It is 48 degrees, so it's not freezing. But because of the wind, it feels like it's 28. But tolerable. I am wearing my extra thick winter hoodie. And it is windproof, so no wind is getting through it. It's the best damn winter hoodie I've ever had. It kind of makes me look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but that's a trade-off I'm willing to take. Now, if it was cold today, definitely would not be walking. But my theory is, reasoning is, I should say, that I didn't walk yesterday. So and you get these little calm spots like right now. It's a nice day though. I'm gonna walk in before it gets dark. It doesn't get dark in Maine, it gets dark. It is election day today. If you didn't go vote today and you have elections, even if it's just local small stuff, you're an a-hole. I mean that sincerely. to do kind of a short route, 5 mile. If that doesn't sound short to you, I'm sorry. I usually do about 6. Thought I had my ear thing on. All right, now I got my earpiece working. So my friends, it is election day, and turn the camera around. We have a big election in New Jersey for governor, big one in Virginia for governor, a big one in New York City for mayor. I don't know who all else is running in New York City, but they may be electing city council, things like that, and voters have a way of balancing things out if they really care about something, meaning voters may vote for Zoran Mamdani, but then they will vote for somebody on city council who doesn't support Mamdani. Because the mayor can't do anything without city council, really. He can do executive orders, things like that. But, you know, city council is kind of like the city's legislature, you know? And for years, New York has had Looney Tunes on it, but some of that changed with Mayor Adams. So Mayor Adams was being a little more conservative, which is why he didn't do well in the primary, because he was actually doing what he was supposed to do with immigration. He was trying to make both sides happy. So I don't know what New York City is going to have for a city council. So anyway, if he gets a full-blown far-left extremist city council in New York City, then New York City is toast. Done for. Gone. Ashes. Razed to the ground. So we'll have to wait and see. President Trump kind of half-heartedly endorsed Cuomo After all Cuomo's been doing is trashing Trump, trying to disassociate himself from Trump, and then Trump comes out half-heartedly tells Republicans and independents to vote for Cuomo. Silwa is doing a strong showing for Republicans, but it's pretty obvious he's not going to win. And if by some miracle he does, well, glory, hallelujah. But I doubt it. I do know that a lot of young people like Silwa, and I was watching some IRL streaming, which is basically just live streaming in real life, of a very popular podcaster, Nick Shirley, walking around New York City just asking people who they're going to vote for. Silwa had a very, very strong support, primarily among young people. So you got a lot of young people that don't want to vote for an old guy. Silwa is not exactly a spring chicken, but he's not an old establishment old guy like Cuomo. Mamdani has a very high appeal to young people that are on the left. So that's why Silwa is getting a lot of support from young independents and Republicans. The voter base is definitely on both parties and the independent party as well. And I say that separately because the independent party is smaller, consists of a handful of other parties, libertarian, green, etc. So I don't take them seriously, other than you can't win without independence. So it's just how that is. So that's why J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio would be a good ticket, or Tulsi Gabbard, the next Republican presidential race, because the Democrats are definitely going to go younger. That's why Gavin Newsom is trying so hard to be their guy. And I hope he is. Because he won't win. He's wishy-washy on everything. People will see right through it. He gets coddled by the media in California. Never gets any tough questions. They give him the treatment like they gave Biden. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? So Gavin Newsom's going to have an easier time of it. Just like Kamala Harris did. But that ended up hurting Kamala Harris because she's so used to being coddled in California that she couldn't handle answering simple questions. They lose their sharpness. And Gavin Newsom, every time he opens his mouth, he's bullshitting. He's lying, gaslighting, whatever you want to call it. And he already looks foolish, and he's not even a candidate. So, a lot of the Democrat base would vote for a blue shampoo bottle if you told them that was their candidate. Sad but true. So it literally doesn't matter who they pick. But somebody that makes enough mistakes with independence, they lose the elections. That's what happened with Kamala. Or Mamala, as she wanted to be called. They came up with a whole bunch of gimmicks. Governor Tim Walz coming out, dancing around on the stage. We're all going to be joyful warriors. We're going to be the opposite to the dark side that Trump represents. That didn't work. It's hard to be joyful when you're paying $8 for eggs, $4 and over for gas. So, which, by the way, reminds me of something I want to talk about that I noticed. I'm sure you have too. If you haven't, then you'll see what I'm talking about. But prices have come down. They have. There's no denying it, okay? Now, meat prices have not. They're trying to. They will eventually. So, chicken is still too high. Pork, a little better. Beef, way too high. So, there should be no reason for beef to be $8 to $10 for a pound of beef, for crying out loud. So, that has to come down. But eggs here in Maine are about $2.70, or some places less than that. Bread is down. Canned goods are down. Coffee is not down because of tariffs on Colombia and Brazil. But a lot of other stuff is down. So anyway, what I've noticed, and I'm wondering if you have as well, is that I see people online that live in the deepest blue states saying that prices have not come down. We don't know what we're talking about. And I checked it out, and places like California, Colorado, Hawaii, a dozen eggs are $9 something a carton right now for a dozen eggs. California still $8. Colorado, same thing. Gas is still over $4 in all of those states. And they're screaming about Trump. It's his fault. I'm like, what? What? How does that compute? I'm in Maine. We don't have that problem. Maine is a purple state. It's not a deep blue state. So you get into the deep blue states, the stuff is still expensive. Now, is that intentional? Did the state do something because it's an election year? Are they doing that on purpose to make sure people are upset with Trump? Make sure you ask these questions. I don't know how they would do that. But it seems odd that some states eggs are still $8 a carton. Gas is still expensive some places. Cheaper than it was, but still expensive. You know, you get $2.79 here a gallon, and it's like $3.79 in those states or up. Seems like every time the price of gas comes down, they raised the price for taxes in those states. Somehow it's Trump's fault, right? Now, some things are Trump's fault. Price of coffee right now. Price of auto parts. Price of car tires. China, 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 China. China tariffs. But in the long run, and he explained this at every rally, that's beneficial to us because people here are not tariffed. They make tires here like we used to. So, temporary pain for long-term gain. Now, some things we'll never notice. Some things like ammunition, almost all of it's made in America. So we're not going to see prices go up on that. Some prices of imported firearms have gone up slightly. Not terrible. So the media spent a lot of time making it sound like everything was going to go up because of tariffs. Everything. Trump was going to tariff everything. It's not what happened. To be clear, that's not what happened. So anyway, voting. That Janet Bodwin school committee across the street there, I had said that she dropped out. She did not. It was the other person running for school board named Burke. Her last name was Burke. She dropped out. I just had the wrong name. So, like I always say, don't take anything I say as gold. I will misstate something from time to time, usually unintentional, or I'll use the wrong word. Something I do frequently is, let's say I say something like, Trump is coming up with a tariff for a country. But that's not how I say it. I'll be in a conversation and I'll say, well, that's why Trump tariffed this country. When in fact the tariff hasn't been implemented yet, but it sounded like it is because that's what I said. But that's the way my mind works, and I don't do that intentionally. But I just thought I would mention it. That I'm not trying to spread misinformation. I'm not doing it on purpose. I gotta tell you, this hill right here is steep. When there's ice on this sidewalk, it's very dangerous. Very dangerous. Especially if you have ice on it. And then you get some snow flurries during the day on top of it. And the loose snow on top of ice is just like little ball bearings. If you've ever played that steel puck electronic bowling game in a bar and grill, where you put that grit stuff down on the table so your steel puck really has some slide. It's kind of like that, where you're walking here and then the next second you're looking up there and your feet are in front of you. Crack! Fall down and break your ass. Now this is funny, okay? This is an example. These people are just going to vote for something because the Republicans don't want it. See this right here? No on one, save absentee voting. Which is a lie. They're not taking absentee voting away. They're changing the rules where you have to prove who you are to absentee vote. Protect Maine's absentee voting. Or you should say, protect Maine's where you don't have to prove who you are absentee voting. So anyway, the reason why those signs are funny is because Janet Mills in Maine, that first sign is a red flag law sign, that first red sign. Well, actually that was the absentee one, but they have a red sign that looks just like that one. That is vote yes on 2, which is to vote to have red flag laws. Now the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, who's always fighting with Trump and everybody else, she hates the Republicans, has stated she does not support this red flag law. She urged voters not to vote for it. Which I thought was interesting. So even the Maine's head establishment Democrat, Janet Mills, doesn't support the red flag law. She said the reason why she doesn't support it is the way it's worded and it can be abused, which was exactly my argument on it. The last thing we need is people in a divorce, where she calls the police, or he calls the police on her and says she's dangerous, she owns guns, I'm afraid for my safety. According to this law enforcement, and it would depend on who was working that day, decides they're going to take your guns. They're just going to take them. You'll get them back, but you have to go to court and you have to prove that you're not a nutbag. Point being is whether you prove that or not, there's time in between your court date to prove that. And in the middle of divorce, the divorce lawyer is going to say, yeah, Your Honor, we don't want to pay spousal abuse to this lunatic woman because she even had to have her guns taken away because she's crazy. And they'll use that to get their client out of paying spousal support. Or it could be a custody battle for kids. Because we know how divorce cases go, don't we? They get nasty. Nasty. So that's why she's going to not support it. It needs to be worded better than that, where people get fair due process. She said we already have a law for that. We do. The yellow flag law. The reason why the Citizens Initiative got put on the ballot is because radical leftists said the yellow flag law didn't work because Robert Card did 2 mass shootings, so obviously it doesn't work. Truth of the matter is, you're not going to legislate against crazy, and you're also not going to ban guns. So the Constitution has an amendment in it guaranteeing the right to bear arms. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So the reality of it is the yellow flag law is the best way to go, where a psychiatric professional and or law enforcement has to petition a judge and then get permission from a judge to temporarily remove somebody's firearms. And when the danger has abated and they demonstrate that it has, they will get their firearms back. Red flag law is a lot different. They just come and take them on somebody's say-so. Could be a neighbor. Could be a neighbor you had a fight with. You know, the neighbor calls the police. So yeah, he was out there waving a gun around when maybe he was out on his porch. Heard some wild animal. Maybe he's got chickens. Heard a wild animal, so he came out on his porch with the floodlight on, double barrel shotgun, and the asshole nosy neighbor, he's out there waving his guns around. Then they take his guns. He threatened me. 2 days ago we had an argument and he was trying to threaten me. So there's probably literally 1,000 different scenarios you can come up with. Anything from not wanting your neighbor's dog on your lawn, the guy never has him on a leash. You know, maybe it's a nasty dog, a pit bull. You got your little kid out there playing digging in the dirt, and this dog is barking at him on your property. You take your gun out, just in case. And the guy makes a false report that you threatened him with your gun just to get you back. Anyway. We're going to hang a left here. So I think the red flag law is not going to pass. I really seriously hope voter ID passes. We definitely need that. I think there are enough Democrats afraid of Republicans cheating that they probably will be on board with it, which is good. You know, that's good. That's the whole point of having voter ID, so nobody can cheat. And I am a proponent of making it easier to vote. Kids, vote person. If you were really not working in the state, or you were in the military. But a lot of people didn't bother with voting. Perfect example. Today's election day, and what's it doing out? We're having 40-mile-an-hour winds. So you're going to go stand in line to vote with this wind today? Feels like it's 28 degrees. You know, you're 75 years old, you're going to go stand in line? And that's why I don't support that. Even if, you know, let's say you're in a warm state. What happens when everybody knows you're going to go vote on that one day? We have what happened today. Bomb threats in New Jersey. Bomb threats. There's reports on other parts of the country in red districts where the electronic voting machines don't work. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Hi.
Hey, look at the big pile.
Jump in the leaves.
We're the fighter.
With the kids jumping in the leaves. So what I was saying is, we end up getting bomb threats, voting machines that don't work, poll workers that are activists and they hate Republicans, so they play shenanigans. Like they try to find these little loophole laws to kick you out because they're going to close the line because something's not working. We saw that during the election last year. In other words, if they have the opportunity, they'll cheat. And if they know everybody's going on the same day to vote, which most Republicans used to, I don't think that's the case anymore. I think the word has gotten out that you're better off voting early. Then you don't run into any voting day shenanigans. Now I've seen a lot of people post the envelope they get. It'll say R on it or D. It'll say if you're an independent, it'll be a letter or a symbol. That's for the city clerk. They don't use it to cheat with. They're not getting your ballot, it says R on it, and they're not throwing it in the trash. That I do know. Those are felonies. They know they're felonies. They may want to do that, but those numbers are just there to know party affiliations with the names. So when they come in, the candidate you're voting for knows that you already voted. Your name gets taken off the voter roll. That's why it's important. So then your candidate doesn't waste money sending a pamphlet to your mailbox and you'll get skipped on the address. But it takes your name off the voter roll on the list for voting in person. So theoretically, I've never tried it to see if that's really the case. You should be able to vote by mail, absentee, not vote by mail. It's two different things. Even though you can mail your absentee. Vote by mail is ballots randomly sent to all residents. Some blue states do that. So, let's say you call up. If your state allows that, this voter ID bill will remove the ability to call your city clerk and request a ballot. You'll have to do it online, like I do, and request a ballot that way. But let's say you go up and you request one online. The state you live in mails one to your address anyway. So you get another ballot sent to you didn't ask for. Then your neighbor moved out from upstairs 2 months ago and they sent them a ballot because that person didn't change their address, because a lot of people move and they don't do that, especially young people. They don't, doesn't seem to compute that if you have mail coming to your address, they're not going to use ESP and try to figure out where you moved to So your mail is still going to go to where you used to live. So you end up with 3 ballots. Now it's against the law to fill out all 3 and mail them. But if you combine that with the state like Pennsylvania did during COVID, where you don't have to use a signature, anybody could fill those out. And they'll never get caught, because how are you going to trace a checked box? There's no name on it. And that's how they cheated in 2020. So lawsuits were filed. Judges said, well, because of the pandemic, Secretary of State, and it was okayed by the governor. That makes it legal. It was emergency, it was declared. Emergency declaration. Gave them legal authority to do that. Now in 2024, there was no emergency declaration. They weren't allowed to do that. Oh, Trump won Pennsylvania. So, combined with Republicans not waiting until voting day to go vote. I think most states at this point, you can track your ballot on the internet after you give it to them. So, I know I can with mine. So I'm just saying. But it's important for people to vote. Polls are going to close by the time I upload this video. I don't know when I'm going to find out who won what. Now, I don't think New York City uses ranked choice voting for their mayor election. They use it for the primary, but they don't use it for the general. So, actually, you know what? I'm not even sure if they use it for the primary in New York. I think they did, though. I just don't think they can use it for the mayoral election. Like in the state of Maine here, we have ranked choice voting for this nationwide election, but we don't use it for state elections. So presidential, Senate, congressional race, but not mayors, not, you know, unless that town institutes it. I think Cumberland County, Portland, Maine, I think they have it there, but they don't have it here. For local elections, mayor and stuff like that. We still have runoff elections. In any case, those are only kicked off by if all the candidates get less than 50%. So that's how that works. I'm going to flip this around. That goes for runoff and ranked choice voting. Lights up when you click the button and make it flash. Flash slower. left over from Halloween. Finders keepers. I want it for my record room. I'm gonna mount that in my record room for ambiance. Ambiance. Halloween is over. Well, it feels like the wind's dying down a little bit for now. For my walk today, I had potato and bean soup with onions, some beef, and I had that on a bed of rice. Actually, I just dumped some rice in it. I made some rice, potato, bean soup with some onions. And it was good. Good walking energy. Best thing for walking though is pasta, believe it or not. High carbs. Looks like we got a nice looking moon out. We'll see just past this house. I hope it looks good on here. It looks big. Big! Where are you? I know I wasn't seeing things. Well, it's behind the trees. I'm gonna wait for it to pop out from behind the trees. There it is. I'm sure it's not as impressive on here as it is in person. You can see all the details in it. The moon face. Moon. Behind those trees. Sorry that wasn't very exciting. It wasn't bad in person. Run, little squirrel. Go. Pew 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 pew. Lucky I'm not hunting squirrels. Pew, pew, pew. Shoot the squirrel, gut the squirrel, shove a rotisserie stick up its butt, cook it and eat it. Just like Eddie on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Could be time for that movie soon. With Thanksgiving season, we're gonna have Thanksgiving and Wow, look at this whole group of guys running here. Girls and guys.
Who is that? Yeah, I hope I'm
College kids. I call them kids, they're all adults. But they're kids. Alright, we'll head back to the ranch. Have my 5-mile walk in. Take a hot shower. Hot coffee. The key theme for this evening is going to be hot and heat. Getting dark early. So there's been a lot of activity for voter ID. A lady came by the house. She had a sign. Vote yes on 1 for voter ID. So there's been a lot of support for it. My brother answered the door and she had a sign. Would you mind if we put a sign on the lawn? Go ahead. I hope it wins. So today I feel great walking. I had a day off yesterday. Sometimes it's good to just take a day off. Your body appreciates it. And for me, mainly it's my lower back. And, you know, things like my heel, my feet. Sometimes I'll get a stiff big toe. I just kind of take it easy. We'll just take it easy. I watch some of these hiking videos on YouTube. One of the reasons why I started doing this is I was watching other people's videos. I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. Sometimes they hike up in the mountains. Sometimes it's just wood trails. Sometimes it's along rivers. There's one guy I watched one time where he was just in the canal system on the outside of New York City in a single man kayak, and he was just paddling around. Almost every bridge that he passed, almost every one that went over a canal, there was at least one electric scooter somebody had thrown into the water. Couldn't believe how many there were. I don't know why people would do that, because I assume you rent it through an app or something. They know who you are that has it. Do you report it stolen? Maybe it was stolen. Can somebody that steals one operate it? Or do you need to use your phone that you paid for through the app to activate it so you can use it? I don't know how that works. All I could do is tell you that I could not believe how many were thrown off the bridges into the water. Go down through this way today, avoid the traffic. It's going to be dark soon. I'm not out trying to set any mileage records today, but if I get at least 5 miles, it goes towards my goal of equaling my mileage from last year. And I will be coming up on 1,200 miles shortly, within a week, I think. So I had 1,339 all of last year. I was fortunate enough to be able to walk most of November, most of December, until around Christmas time. Then after that, January, I walked only about 6 days, and the same thing in February, because not only did we have cold temps, but we also had snow and storms and stuff like that. So it's all going to depend on the weather, but at least 5 miles a day times 7, it's 35 miles at the least. It's actually closer to 40 to 45, because a lot of times it's 6 miles or 5.8, 5.9. So we have most of November left, and we have December. So if I get to walk just 35 miles a week, 5 miles a day, It's 140 miles in a month. I think November has an extra week too, I think. Is it a 5-week month? November 31st? 4.5, 5, whatever. And then we'll have December. And I'm already almost to 1,200. So theoretically, 4 weeks worth of walking out of the next 8, I should be able to tie what I did last year. So it's looking like I'm gonna make it, which is good. I just want to do my personal same as, and even if I do 1 mile more, I'll break last year's record. I don't know how far 1,400 miles goes from here in Lewiston, Maine, but I imagine it's pretty far. Pretty far. 1/3 of the way to California, anyway. That ain't no slouch. Now today when I get back, I'm gonna have a big chunk of triple chocolate cake made with Hershey syrup, completely erasing this walk. But I'll still have the miles in my app, okay? All right. Got some leftover pumpkins. Gourds. Those are gourds. They're like white pumpkins. They're racist. They're racist. They got white pumpkins. The gall. They must be out of their gourd. Made somebody laugh earlier that lives in Hawaii. She was saying online that she wanted to move to Molokai, which used to be a leper colony island, and she said she wanted to raise some chickens. And I said she didn't want to do that because their wings would fall off. She didn't get it at first. But then she was like, oh, I get it. Chickens with leprosy, their wings fall off. Ha ha ha. It's like that Far Side cartoon they used to have that was done by Gary Larson. One of the best ones that I remember is the Boneless Chicken Ranch. And there's all these blobs of chickens with no skeletons in the yard. Their eyes on them are like, oh, I'm a blob, I'm a chicken, I can't walk, I can't do anything. Boneless Chicken Ranch. I'd hate to see what the skinless chicken ranch look like. Even worse, the boneless, skinless chicken ranch. Goodness. There's an electric vehicle. Can't hear the fucking thing. All you hear is a faint whining. Sounds like something in Star Wars. I don't like it. It's probably one of those things where if I actually drove one that wasn't just a grocery getter, a real electric vehicle, probably would be enjoyable just because of the torque. You don't have any mechanical loss, no mechanical energy loss. most of the power generated by fossil fuel combustion engine, most of the energy is lost through mechanical transfer. Electric motor is pretty direct. Could actually burn rubber pretty easily with an electric vehicle, if the electronics allow it. If you have a sport mode. If you don't, it's like, nah, that's not a sale, wouldn't want it. And I also know, because it's an electric vehicle, they like to have a whole bunch. Well, this stood up especially incredibly well to all the wind today, I have to admit. They still got the spiders on the roof. A couple things have blown over, but that could have been a lot worse today. So anyway, figure with an electric vehicle, you get all these electronic gizmos that it does, and it eats power. All these lights inside and all this other stuff. I mean, I assume you can run on minimal, turn everything dim, make the battery last longer. And LED lights maybe don't use that much. I have to admit, I don't know enough about it, because it's the kind of thing you'd have to own one, I guess. Now, in fairness, you go see a game, let's say you go to Fenway Park to see a Red Sox game. We would drive to Malden, and then we would take the T over, the train, subway, into Boston, transfer to the Green Line, and get off outside of Fenway Park. And, well, you'd have to gas up at least once on the way. With a car, with a pickup truck, you might need to gas up twice, maybe. But electric vehicle, you're going to have to stop and charge it, regardless. So it would have to be an electric vehicle that you could fast charge in an hour instead of 8, or whatever the hell it would be. Maybe stop in somewhere to eat, have a pizza, shoot the breeze while you're charging, if they have a charging place near a pizza joint, which is the other problem, infrastructure. And I don't know how expensive it is on the turnpike to charge your EV. Is it comparable with gas? Is it cheaper? Or is it all a sad mirage to get you to buy one? I don't anticipate gasoline-powered vehicles going anywhere anytime soon. Customers are not ready for electric, even though they are more efficient, they have more power, they have less parts to go wrong. But when you do need parts, they're not cheap. Now, if everybody was driving them, I would imagine the parts would be cheaper. Batteries, however, that's the main problem. Until they come up with a nuclear-powered car, batteries are going to be the Achilles heel. You need rare earth minerals, a lot of them, and you can't make the batteries all in one place. They have big, giant, open chemical pits where it's a chemical process done naturally, and they have this water that looks green, fields of them, where that's part of the process to extract the minerals that they need to make lithium batteries. So you use lithium batteries for cars, phones, drones, everything now. And they have a difficult time producing enough for everybody, and that's why batteries cost so much. So simply put, there's absolutely no way right now with technology the way it is for everybody in the United States to drive an electric vehicle. I'm sure the car companies would love the orders, but they can't fulfill them. They're not going to be able to for a long time. And then you need the chips, which we just started making our own here without relying on other countries. So those could be cut off at any time. China uses that to hold America hostage economically. And President Trump is smart enough to know, with common sense, that we got to stop relying on other countries, and we got to stop saying we need to do that and actually do it, which is why the price of things are going up. So it's a necessary evil. In the interim, temporarily, might be rough for some things. Next 3 or 4 years, maybe longer. I was telling you guys, it takes 10 years. 10 years. Even if you get the permitting next week, it takes 10 years to come up with a rare earths mine, the equipment needed, the processing of it. China's been doing it for decades, so they already have an infrastructure. That's why they make 90% of the world's fuel you need for batteries. So it's not going to happen overnight. It just is not. Which is unfortunate. That's how it is. We're going to have to play hardball with them. And as soon as we get a Democrat in the White House, they're going to fuck it all up again. Democracy. Which brings me to another point. Look at all these people calling Trump a king, a dictator. Fucking guy hasn't even been able to scratch his own ass without a judge giving him permission. It's like, come on, guys. Shut the fuck up. It's going to be the worst dictator ever. There's no squads taking out the judges. There's no politicians being assassinated. Well, Democrats are assassinating politicians, but we won't go there. I mean the person in charge doing it. Worst dictator ever. Worst one. Everybody still gets to vote. I want a refund. Trump's the worst dictator ever. Well, it looks lighter on here than it is. Well, the wind's definitely dying down. Definitely noticeable. All the cars are going to come at one time because I get across. I'll just wait for a hole. I'll be patient. I don't want to get runned over. Don't want to get runned over. There's no sidewalks over here. See, a little patience. A little patience. Still got time to vote. All right, sorry about that. Didn't mean to cough in your ear. How rude. A lot of small tree limbs that blew off. If there was any leaves left on the trees, they're gone now. This is the kind of windstorm. Remember I told you guys? I don't go crazy with breaking up leaves on the property. I learned very quickly, 90% of the time, this time of year, you get very windy days and it blows all the neat leaves where we are in the neighbor's yard. And I haven't checked yet, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened on this windstorm today, which has basically stripped what's left on the trees. And there's not very many leaves laying around on the grass here. Whatever's left in the spring, I will mulch them. I've already put the lawnmower away. Some fuel stabilizer added for the cold winter months of non-use. I ran it for a couple of minutes to make sure that stuff runs all the way through. We don't have any corrosion in the fuel lines from ethanol. The alcohol they mix the fuel with. Yabba-dabba-doo. Sure that car was going to stop. I don't think that car was sure either. Well, this Norwegian maple has all its leaves gone. Just walk up ahead. Actually, down a little side street around the corner. Cut across over here. Cut across. So I don't have to cross at the busy intersection during rush hour. As you can see, there's school buses. School buses and vehicles. Gas vehicles, diesel vehicles, electric vehicles. Bright moon. Looks like a full moon there tonight. Do we have a full mooner tonight? It sure looks like a full moon. It's hard to tell these days with cortical cataracts because I see 3 moons lying on top of each other. I get triple vision with 2 eyeballs. You figure that out. Headlights look like sparklers, which is kind of cool. Have to admit, that street light's got a halo around it and it looks like a sparkler. Welcome to the wonderful world of old-ass eyeballs. Now I can still see good enough where I don't need glasses. Just light does weird things. Weird. Also have a couple of floaters. Had those for years. And a vitriol detachment. That's where the lining of your eyeball caves in. And that gel. The way the eye doctor explained it to me, it is the gel that's on the inside of your eyeball that lays on the surface in a sphere. I watch this car. I don't know if they see me or not. What it's there for is when your eyes are developing, when you're in the womb and you're a baby. It's used to actually help form the shape of your eyeball. And then after you're born, you don't need it anymore. And it doesn't bother you until you get old. And then the lining inside your eye collapses in spots. It's only a problem when it collapses where your retina is. Your retina has a nerve that lies flat on the back of your eyeball. And if it detaches there, then it pushes your retina away from the back of your eye. Then you see this big giant dark spot that you can't get rid of. And you have to go get surgery on it and they tack it back down with a laser. Probably put something in your eye to increase the pressure too, to help push it against the back of your eye while they do that. I'm pretty sure these days they don't cut your eye open to do that. Anyways, I'm just babbling. Camera around as the wind picks up. Blowing the hood up against the back of my head. Anyways, my friends, hope you enjoyed walking with me today. Click like and subscribe. Share the content. Added a new gun video for the TSOS Duty SDS Imports stainless steel 45 1911 great pistol. One of the best. Don't even hesitate to get one. They're awesome. So anyways, my friends, say a prayer for Trump and the country. God bless you and your family. And we will see you on the dark side. Get this sign that lights up. Make it flash. See you later, everybody. See you on the next walk. Bye-bye.